So, talking about the personalities that were put within my soul. So, like in my testimony, I talk about how, like, there was a ritual that was done and I went crazy. And, well, crazy, as the word goes anyway. And then I was taken to a hospital. And I talk about the various parties that were involved, how I saw government, Western Cape government vehicles surrounding me. I went to the police, but they obviously just didn't care because they were like, we know. We know. So why would we help you? And even the people that I was in the hospital with, actors. So my life has been the Truman Show. And I've just been the one who doesn't know that I'm in a show, but everyone else knows. And there were certain instances where I'm like, they're not as organized as they think, because there were certain instances where I'm like, should this person have told me that? Because I'm like, there were literally people who would tell me the truth. And I'm like, but are these people not your people that they would tell me the truth? And they're not supposed to know. So it just goes to show that when God wants something to come out, it will come out. There's no we're trying to hide it, and it's not gonna work. When it's time for something to come out, it's time for something to come out. And this is proof that there's a higher power for, the people who are just atheists or they non-believers and they skeptics, whatever the case. My life is specifically for the glory of God, for people who even thought that they were above the law, that is God, that they get to see that it's not like you weren't being watched. And because these people have done the most atrocious things to me. In any case, I was talking about the personalities, and I was talking about how with the personalities, what would happen is, again, people would do the utmost things. Like, they literally went to go take a homeless person off the street, and they're like, she needs to be moved. And they like told that homeless person, you have been chosen and we're going to wash you now. And they put that person through a bunch of rituals just to enter that person into my soul, just so I could just have intruders in my soul, random people in my soul, people just getting whatever it is that they want, And so they did the ritual, and this was shortly after I found out that I was pregnant. And I fell pregnant, and then they were already doing these rituals, but they were subtle. Like, they tried to give me like, I think it was like eczema. So at the time, unfortunately, the information that I was under was, this is a Kundalini awakening. If anyone has ever heard those kind of new age things, where it's like a Kundalini awakening, and I started getting like a scab, like dry. My skin got so dry by my neck, where I wasn't aware that literally it's either someone is trying to give me eczema, or they're trying to block my throat, or whatever it is, that was what was going on. And I'm just carrying on with my life thinking, oh, this is a Kundalini awakening. And these things would happen where I just thought, okay, it's a dream. But it wasn't just a dream. There were rituals that were taking place while I was sleeping, and they were literally carrying my spirit to different places and doing crazy things and dumping, like I was some sort of bin, like a rubbish bin, just dumping stuff on me. And yeah, so that happened. And they did the ritual, and then they put the blame on me, like I was the one who did it, like, because the family that was, I guess, paid to look after me or something, they then were like, they blame me. They're like, she got herself involved in some cult and now she can't get out. So every time they would do a ritual, literally it would cause my mind to break. Like, my mind would get so confusion. It's like they wanted to give me the utmost confusion, and I would lose my mind. There was a time when I thought that everything in the house was like possessed, so I started like throwing stuff out. And when I started throwing the stuff out, they brought like some of my family members to tell me, like, to essentially bully me and tell me it's all your fault. Like, you got yourself involved in a cult, but they were the ones who were doing these things behind my back. And now, obviously, everything being cleansed out, I see the faces of these people and what they were doing. Literally, people being in wardrobes and watching me like sleep. People who've watched intimate moments of my life and paid attention, just so that we can create influencers who have your mannerisms, so that when you decide that you're gonna come out and tell people your story, there are a bunch of other people who have your mannerisms. Yeah, we're gonna copy your style too. We're gonna make sure people wear wigs and all of that, that when you come out, you're just gonna look like the fool who is just trying to tell people a story, you know. So I do believe that there's a reason, obviously, why I'm saying this. For who, I don't know. Perhaps it's the people who are mucking around with the algorithm. Maybe it's their warning. Perhaps it's the people that are pretending to, you know, people are called to like the videos. Or maybe there is actually someone out there who is actually watching the video and is like, whoa, this sounds like something my heart is telling me to listen to. I don't know why, but people who've watched intimate moments of my life, and now I'm starting to recognize, like, so they tried to get me to be homosexual, like to be attracted to homosexual men and to be a homosexual myself. And how I've come to understand how homosexuality works. So I'm a Christian and I believe what God says. I am not dumb enough to think that there is no order in how God created everything. I'm not gonna tell myself that everything is by chance and that there's no supreme ruler. I'm not going to do that. So when God says this is the way that it is, and I've confirmed it in how you live your life, there's nothing that God has said in the Bible that has not reigned true for me. And so when God says homosexuality is not even, he doesn't use the word sin in saying that you are sinning against me. He uses it to mean you are hurting yourself. And so my journey has been a journey of understanding why God finds certain things abominable, you know. And so literally I had this dream where I saw an aunt of mine like on top of me, like in a so it was like me having sex with someone, and it's like instead of that someone, so this is something that actually happened, instead of that someone, I see an aunt like on top of me. And then I'm starting to wonder, what does this mean? And so I started learning about homosexuality and why he finds it abominable. He talks about how, well, what he showed me anyway, and why after the rituals, and because I said in my testimony that literally the last ritual that was done before I got saved, I literally felt my anus was swollen. It felt like someone entered my back door without my permission, or someone's back door was entered and then they put that on me, because they are rituals, right? And so literally what was happening is that you had women who were using the eyes of the man that I was with to look at me so that they can imitate. So it's like a woman in a man's body. And naturally, when you're in that position and you get to understand what that man feels when he enters a woman with his penis, your mind is wired to have an attraction to that woman, because you have a feeling of, I've entered her, even when you have not. And so for the men that I've dated, they were using my eyes to look at the man that I was with. And so it's like, you are a man in a woman's body, and you have felt what it feels like to, because obviously it's like they're looking at my soul, they're reading my soul, they're understanding what I feel when I have sex with this man. how I look at him, what I find attractive. And so naturally that tarnishes the soul, where there's no way you will be attracted to women as that kind of man, as a man who's done that. And so it's like now we're going to create this society where we say that everyone is into this, but the people that I've experienced who are homosexual are people who have gone through rituals where it's something that it's a coding that happens to your soul. Your soul is fundamentally changing, and you've experienced what it feels like to be a woman with a womb, because literally you're experiencing what her thoughts are, what her wishes are, what she's experiencing, what she likes as she watches this man and she's in an intimate position. And this is the people that I would see entering my dreams, and like people who like were trans and people who were gay, and or I'll just use homosexual as people who are not like as the opposite of a heterosexual relationship. So that entire umbrella, homosexual people, that's what I will say, homosexuality. And that's what I've come to learn, that this is how the society is run, people entering the back door. This is, so when you see the heart emoji, that's not a heart depicting your soul, that's the back door. That's like the shape of a bum that's bending over, and you're entering an exit essentially. And this is what the societies run under, because I would have inclinations come up where it's like in my soul I know that there's like lust and there's like homosexuality, and I would have these dreams where I'm experiencing just what I know I'm not. And this is not to say I'm in denial. It's like I'm fighting this. I don't want it. It's not me. In the same way that they, the people that they pay to date me would try and get me into threesomes. I'm like, this is not me. I don't want it. And so there's a lot of shame clearly that's associated with a man being with a man or a woman being with a woman that now they took and they dumped onto me. And wanting to completely convert me into different types of practices and different types of, just move me away from God and give me this restrictive idea of what Christianity is. But essentially the whole point is that the rituals that were done were to hide the fact that I was pregnant, to hide it from me. And so there's this song that kept playing that says, we need a miracle and you are the miracle worker. And so when you make someone a Christmas tree, so obviously they've decided, okay, we're going to take people with a certain gene that we're going to call Jewish. So whether someone says, no, you're not Jewish, because I understand someone being a Jew to mean this. When I use the word Jewish, I'm talking about someone that have been identified to have a specific gene that has to do with the 12 tribes. And so those are the miracle workers. That's where we get our wishes from. And so when you watch certain movies like Disney's Wish, it shows you how these things work, how in this movie they wish and they give it to a wizard, and something they forget, something leaves them. So this is what would happen. Like they would have wishes and they would take from, I guess, my set of gifts that I have. And so the whole plot was, she's pregnant, she's about to give birth, we need those children, because those are going to be the set of new wishes, I suppose. We're going to get our gifts. And it's obviously painful watching people who have taken from you, they're succeeding and they're being exalted, and they make sure that the people that they got the gifts from to hide them and to make them feel lesser than. And so this is what I've been learning in a nutshell. And I'm trying to figure out if there's something else that I want to say.